Remember those old movies with rank?
Good evening. Thank you so much to join us tonight. This new broadcast is a sixth broadcast that we are doing with Linking Live as a Mental Wellness Society. And tonight, with our guest, we want to speak about to do and achieve, and not just contemplate. And he will be able to really expand on that. So I want to introduce my friend, Neville Graham Gaunt. He is the chairman of the company MindFit, who is doing great things in terms of corporate training and other things. He is part of our group called Agent of Change. There is 80 members worldwide in Agents of Change. And we also have, when you have business coach, executive coach, IO psychologist. But in the Mental Wellness Society, we have three other groups, health and wellness, psychology, coaching, education, parenting. Total is over 300 members on 7 continents throughout 72 countries and 44 states of United States. The Mental Wellness Society members are handpicked. We are not an association where you pay, and we enjoy getting a lot of people paying to get a membership and have a big staff. Our members are expert on volunteering their know-how to help to make society better. So they are handpicked, and you can only join if you are invited to participate. The Mental Wellness Society is a professional international network of science, academy, and practitioners to improve functionality by enhancing cognition and wellness. This is what we do, and it's pretty unique organization, and we do many activities, including having a task force helping in Ukraine for mental wellness. But let's stick to what we do tonight. I would like to ask Neville to talk about himself, the synergy between us, and about his involvement in Mental Wellness Society. Neville, take it away.
Thank you very much indeed. And it's a pleasure to be on the show this evening. I'm going to give a very potted history of me. My background in my first career, if you like, was in the corporate life, international business, mostly oil and gas, where in many respects I was probably a problem solver, solving proper problems rather than finding solutions for problems that don't exist. And then when I retired and I stumbled into this thing called MindFit in the back, I realized that actually it was just a process. Anyone can achieve, anyone can be a can-do person. All you've got to do is want to be it. We do a lot of work in the corporate sector, large organizations, but I also do quite a lot of work with young people and SMEs across the globe, helping them be the best they can be. So that's it in a nutshell. And it was a joy to meet Abraham when we met via LinkedIn, which was a great place to meet. And he introduced me to the Mental Wellness Society. And I thought, this is a fantastic organization whereby it's invite only and you don't have to get 3 dodgy references and pay £600 to be a member. And I thought that was the best way forward. So we then had a short discussion, which was planned for half an hour. and correct me if I'm wrong, Abraham, but I think it went on for a good 2.5 hours, because I'm sure sparks were flying over Israel and over the UK, as we were literally coming at the same problem from very different angles. And it was a pleasure to have that discussion with you, and here we are today, a few months later on.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think we should speak about your book, because your book is about mind fit and the attitude of being a doer. And I think I would like you to speak about the book that you have created, which is everything you should have learned at school but did not. Tell us more about your book, because it's really an amazing book. By the way, it's free. And everybody should download the book and read it, because it's more than a gem, because it have many different people who are have an intervention in that book, and each one is a golden nugget. So tell us more about your book, because there is a lot behind it.
Well, all I can say is, and those people that help contribute to the book, which there are 27 people contributing in the book, including the designer and the coordinator that helped me with it. And there are 25 chapters in this book, which are all real stories about young people and old people and people in the middle. And it's stories of difficulty that these individuals overcame. It's the first book in a series of 6, and this book has a topic of attitude and soft skills. And we all know how important having good soft skills, like communication, like we're showing here. You know, we really want young people to come away from their education system, whether it's at A-level, 18 years, or whether it's a little older, 21, 22, when they come out of university with a degree. We really want them to be able to communicate and relate with other people and have empathy with other people. All of these fantastic leadership skills that we talk about, but are incredibly difficult to develop, because there's no book, there's no training book. And that's the whole point of this book, because it started off as a bit of a labor of love, and it grew into, as I say, 25 chapters and quite a large appendix. And the book is free. That's the key element to this, because I actually believe the Mental Wellness Society have got this right. We share things. We share good practice. As we know, there's lots of really good sharing at very corporate level. If you go to TED Talks, there's some fantastic free sharing of information out there. But this is a little bit more than sharing information, because at the end of every chapter, we ask questions about you. So we give you a little bit of background history of how this person struggled with a project that was really key to what they were doing. And then we ask you a few questions about, did you understand it? What have you struggled with? Have you seen any issues around what the writer has tried to say to you? So for instance, I think it might be a good idea. I mean, that's the book. I'd print it out in A4, because I think it's more of a handbook than a book just to read. And in the foreword and in the preface at the front, we actually tell people how to read the book. Don't rush it. Take your time. It's broken down into small, like 4 or 5 page chapters. So you don't need to rush this. If you read a chapter a day, then you could finish the book in a month. But frankly, this is a book for life. Let me give you a couple of chapter titles, if you like, to get your the insides firing a bit. So, Passion and Motivation, that's the title. Sales is the lifeblood of business. Resolving conflicts. A Young Girl's Life. This is one of our very young authors. She's only just turned 19. And we've even got a younger young man whose title is, let me have a look now. Oh, I know he's here somewhere. Having a Vision at Any Age. What a great title for a 14-year-old to come up with. Why networking matters, our personal brand, leadership in the new world, connecting the world. There's more to sport than fitness. Today's a gift. Do it now. I say 25 different chapters and quite a sizable appendix. The appendix actually is all about how to write a CV and interview skills, which everyone needs to know, but not many people really understand it. So I'm really excited about this. We've had quite a few thousand, several thousand downloads of this free book. It's in the chat, so please download it. You will not be inundated with a huge marketing program to say, you know, come and buy this, come and buy that. That's not the way we operate. We just want you to download that book and get on with it. We might come back to you in 2 or 3 months and say, have you opened it yet? Just to nudge you along. We might even say, have you read it yet? But that's it, really. And as I say, I'm very excited by it because it's getting quite an international flavor.
I cannot wait to see the 5 other book coming. But this book have a lot of story about struggle of different of your people. And it shows how individual confronted to unique situation can find extraordinary unique solution. And it's very interesting because we are in the preparation of a resilience summit that we will have at University Tel Aviv in February. And everybody was looking, what is the definition of resilience? And I was thinking, well, it's the book of Neville, but the resilience, you cannot speak of resilience without talking about some type of trauma or difficulty.
Yes.
And the resilience is, in fact, to bend, but not to break.
Yep.
And that is what is in your book. So it's a book also about resilience, very much so. So your book is now becoming a course in our Mindful Choice Academy. Maybe you can, and hopefully it will go from that to something we can take to schools to help them to, people are talking about soft skill. I will go one step further. Nobody nowhere teach children or even adults how to deal with emotion, how to avoid their emotion to control themselves. And that is, I think, thanks to your book and also what we are doing also in schools, I think we can help children to be better armed, to become better citizens and not consumer, but producer in society. And I think it's something very good. Tell us more about how it's becoming a course.
Well, when we run any course, whoever is, we'll call them trainers for want of a better term, but they're teachers in many respects. And the really good teachers in the world have always got a story. And the story that either they've experienced or someone else they know that they can relate to and the audience can relate to, where that they bring the story to life. And a lot of knowledge transfer happens in a storytelling world. So what better then to have a course for teachers, students, parents, young adults, professionals that can focus on a number of real stories. And the other thing is, as you download this book and you look at the individuals that have contributed, a lot of these people have contributed at a very, very senior level, not just in their organization, but also in their country. So we've got some big hitters in this book, along with complete unknowns. so that we can completely relate to the trials and tribulations that people go through. And as Abraham says, this is about building resilience. And of course, a young baby knows all about resilience, because if that baby didn't know about resilience, it would never learn to walk. But they didn't go to school to learn to walk. They didn't read a book. But what they did do is they observed what was going on. So in many respects, what we've got is the teacher is being that observer, that conduit into the classroom. So we're going to do train the trainer programs, of course, but more importantly, we want teachers to come to the table and actually grab hold of this and start passing on these, the resilience forum, really, that everyone talks about, but we don't really know how to do.
True. And that fits well with different program which we are developing about resilience and personal effectiveness, because you need to be efficient with yourself. How do you operate the best yourself? And obviously you need to have a good development between your mind and your body, because if your body does not carry you, it will be difficult to think. But if you don't think right, you won't take the key of your car, for example, to go to the gym. So it's both, but that affect, you need to know how to resist, to not act on your emotion in a very primal way. And you need to decide, do you want to do this or that? That element of choice is very important. And even a baby choose. They choose where they put their energy. They choose what they learn today. I have a little one, at less now, but when she was in the very early developmental stage, every day was a surprise with something new. But she had a program. Today she was doing this. Tomorrow she is doing that. And that was very interesting, that even early on, the choice was in fact the drive. And the problem is, after, when we age, we go to school and we go to place where they teach us to become normal or fit the norm,
Yep.
which means not to make trouble to anything, anybody, and follow like a sheep what you are being told. All the people who succeed are not the follower. They are the leaders. And they are the leaders because they open something new that they feel was worth to try. And it worked. So I think that's come back to the motivation. So,
yeah, and the key, you talk about your young daughter. I mean, you're an absolute classic opportunity here, because you're seeing it firsthand. You're seeing that curious nature of an untrained mind, really. And the nice thing is that curiosity is training her in the best way possible. And of course, as she gets older and learns to talk like very fluidly, and I know she's there already, your life will get even worse or better, because she'll be asking, what's this? What's that? How does that work? Why are we doing this? When are we having that? And that's the curiosity of a young mind. And I find, sadly, as Professor Sir Ken Robinson found, is that when young kids go to school, it's kicked out of them, because, as you mentioned, they conform. Don't look at the back of the book where the answers are. That'll be cheating. Whereas in the world of work, we talk about collaboration and improvement and sharing, and all of that. Curiosity is drilled out of the creativity is drilled out of us, and we've got to stop it. And hence this book is not just for young people of a university age. This is for everybody. Parents, pick up it, read it, listen to it, watch it, feel it, and translate that into a story you can tell your 3 or 4 or 5-year-old, because young children love stories. I remember when the Harry Potter books came out for the very first time, my wife would be sitting with our three youngest, and she would be reading part of a chapter, and she would leave them a cliffhanger at the end of the evening. So they were always wondering about what's going to be said tomorrow, what's in the next chapter, what's on the next page. And again, that's helping them be curious, imagine what might be coming, and then you tell them what does come. So it's
you're giving a great example of a child reading a book. Yep. Unfortunately, in this society, many kids have too much time on the screen.
Yep.
And they don't think. They just absorb. They get entertained. They get engrossed in things. Yep. But they don't think. They don't think by themselves. They don't necessarily read well. And that's a problem we have in the society, because many children are learning about things, but they're not doing. And then I am coming back to your animal in the back of your back of your shoulder. Maybe you can explain us a little bit more about the dinosaur. About it's not just to know, but it's to do, which is important. And you need to know as a mean to an end, but the end is to do. And I think it's the subject of today, to be a doer. So maybe you can explain us a little bit more about the dinosaur.
Yeah, certainly. And, going through this little journey that we have this evening, hopefully people can see how the doing and the creativity is being kicked out of all of us as we go through an education system. Not everybody, because some people come out the other side even more creative because they've been resilient. You use the word, and they've fought off all of the conformity that's thrown at us on a regular basis. But let's come to this map, because this is the map. We put it in a word that we say it's all about attitude. Ideally, we're talking about a can-do attitude. Now, we're unusual in that we define what a can-do attitude is. And no matter what we do, wherever we're doing it, there are always four things happening in our brain. There's lots of other things happening, but what underpins the four things is how we think, how we feel, which is your resilience, how we communicate and connect with others, so there's a social context, and what drives us. And if all of those four are positive, you're in a can-do mode. If any one of those four is negative, so let's just say you don't really, you've got this project to do, but you're feeling that you don't really think it's going to make any difference. So immediately you don't feel driven to do the project. So you've got two negatives. But you've got to finish the project. And anybody that we coach knows that actually they've got to change the way they feel and realize if the only driver in this is I'm going to get this boring project out of the way, then that's a good enough driver, because it means I'm now driven with a core sense of purpose. And now I believe I can do it in 40 minutes, because typically if I procrastinate and I don't think correctly, it might take me 2 or 3 hours. So those two positives.
Or you push it to tomorrow. Or you push it to tomorrow. Or tomorrow never come.
Exactly. And my fellow accountants out there will say, Neville's talking about VAT returns or tax returns, because everybody puts them off to the very, very last minute. And guess what? They've never got all the information because they've panicked at the very end. And then they press a button and they think, thank goodness that's over. Whereas the following morning, they should get up and say, do you know what? I'm never going to do that again. I'm going to plan it. I'm going to put it in position. I'm going to do 5 minutes a day. So when it comes to the time to submit, I've got everything there. I'm in a cool, calm arena, positive thinking, positive feelings, positively driven, and bingo. I press the button. The next time you don't feel relief. You feel ecstatic because all you've done is put a project in place, piecemeal, and it works. And once you've done that,
you've developed a process.
Exactly. So, you know, I always say leadership isn't position, leadership is action. So you can have lots of people with chief exec, chairman, CIO, CTO, Cisco, whatever you want to call them. But if they just sit in their ivory tower and dictate, that's not leadership. Leadership is getting off your butt and going and talking with people, demonstrating and showing you care, empathy, showing that you want people to have resilience, showing them that you want them to be innovative. And again, all of these wonderful words, they only sit in one area, and that's in that can-do area on the dinosaur, as you call it in the background. Some people call it a giraffe. I can sort of see that. But young kids call it dinosaur, which is great because in their own mind, they think a dinosaur's been around for a long time, so this must be right. I don't have a problem with that because if they can get into that can-do mode very early and stay there and have the tools to stay there, which are very easy, actually. We've all got tools to be a can-do. It's just that we don't know what they are because we don't use them often enough.
It's also not to listen to the little voice, which is your worst enemy. I cannot do it. It's difficult. I cannot do it, and so on. So yes, it's a motivation, but you were talking about the way you think, the thinking. And in mindful choice, we really say, if I change the way you think, I will change the way you feel and the way you act. So it's really about the thinking and the feeling which are together, because that is in the mind. That is cognitive. But if we speak about, I don't like it, it's too difficult, I'm not sure, I will be, if I fail, what will happen? It's emotional. That's in the brain. And it is a primal reaction, flight, fight, freeze, depending on your temperament.
Correct, yeah.
So the motivation is really, when you are motivated, you take a risk and you try. And it's positive. But if you are wired negatively, it's dead before even you start. So
it's very true, and it's that one negative, and it doesn't have to be a negative thinking. So it could just be you don't feel great. You don't see the point, as I said, you don't see the point in doing this, you know, which means your thinking is going to say, well, you're right, there is no point in doing this. And immediately it shuts down the part of the brain that should be thinking.
It's poisoned.
Exactly.
It's a poison.
Yes,
and
it's
contaminating negatively all the positive things you had, including, that's what we also teach, you need to look at the outcome you want to succeed. We say, go backward design. First, choose what you want to achieve. Don't look where you come. Look where you go and where you do what you want to do. But to do that, you need to focus on a positive destination. And a lot of people have an image of a negative destination. My research field, my research on the split-second decision-making under stress, at Carnegie Mellon, we were able to prove that you end up where you look. And you don't look with just your eyes, you look with your mind.
Yep.
And if you look at an achievement, you will do it. By the way, to become a sportsman, to be on the podium, it only happened to the people who the night before think they will be on the podium. The one who don't think they will be on the podium, they will never get on the podium. Never, never. So that brings us to something which happen nowadays, and which happen a lot with what we call the COVID PTSD. Because
wow. Yeah.
the people have not been impacted, but they don't know, they doubt about everything they can do. So we spoke about that before together, but it's all boiled between your internal locus of control, meaning I can do it, I can decide, I choose for my life, I am in the driver's seat. That's internal locus of control. Internal locus of control people succeed. But the external locus of control, there is always a reason. The bad salesman is, I never got the right brochures, I did not have, the client was not available, he did not like it, I was not supported by my salespeople. Always a reason. It's not because of me. There is always so many things outside of me. That's why it does not succeed. So from the get-go, if you are an internal locus of control, which, like resilience, you can learn to be an internal locus of control, we can help you to do that. You will be a doer. But if you shift your internal locus of control without realizing it, because you cannot travel, you don't know if you have a job, you are working from home, and your wife is saying, coming with a long honey-do list. Honey do this, honey do that, help with the kids, take care of the garbage, and so on and so on. You lose the executive, which we are decision-making people. They lost their skill. They just lost their skill, and they don't remember they were like that. And at the end of the COVID time, when they go back to work, they don't know to take decision again because they don't recognize themselves, and they have a PTSD. It's characterized as a PTSD because without realizing it, they shift. Slowly, their strong internal locus of control became zero, and the external locus of control became very high, and they don't know what to do. So I think this is something which happens nowadays in society, and I think the locus of control is a drive to be a doer and not just to contemplate. What do you think, Neville?
No, I absolutely agree. And the external, these external events that happen around us, it could be people saying things that are just all negative. So I'm sure you hear a lot, choose your friends that are going to be positive. Actually, I choose lots of my friends that are going to be negative because it builds my resilience up, and then I can convince and convert them into, actually, you've got a point, but perhaps if you looked over here, you might change your mind. So our day job actually isn't to work with people up the top. My day job is to work with people down the bottom. So I know all about the external locus of control, what motivates people, how when they see something on the TV, they believe it. I know some people that watch soaps on the TV, these regular programs, and they believe the characters are real because the actors do such a great job. And that's where we get into a real problem of fake news. We've all heard, over the last 24 hours in the UK and certainly in the Western world, how Putin and his team are saying all of these people that have been killed in the streets and raped and hands tied and terrible, terrible scenes. Oh, this is all fake. These are actors. And you look there and you think, my goodness, what are these people on? And it's because the external locus of control is controlled by somebody else. They've given away their external control, which actually means they've given away their internal control too. So they've just become exactly, and I don't like referring to this war, but it's really showing us the bad side of human behaviour. At the same time, it's showing some fantastic things. Certainly, Mental Wellness Society were doing some brilliant things with Victor in Ukraine, and it's galvanizing the support and help that people need. And you mentioned PTSD, and I think this is a phrase that everyone thinks, well, this only happens from military. It doesn't, actually, as you well know. It happens with everybody.
Looking at TV, it was a PTSD after November 11. Many people have looked what happened. Many firemen committed suicide. Many first responders, just by looking at the event. Yep. And I think a lot of people don't realize the damage which is done by looking at those information. By the way, for myself, I have decided I don't watch anymore the news. I read the news because I can choose what I read. Yep. Because if not, they feed me with what they want me to see because they sell advertising. And that's not too good. But there is something in this war which is very important. There is not just a war with tank and ammunitions. The war took place before as an information war.
Yep.
The war is through infecting media, social media, and everything to a point. You don't know who to believe. And you know what? When you don't know who to believe, the best to believe is yourself. Because in that
you've always got to fall back on your own. Absolutely.
In that situation, if you believe yourself, you might be able to tap in what I call your own survival mode. And you can focus on what you want to achieve. Actually, the root of most of problem of everybody in life are either a decision made by inattention, which means not complete information, not having the true information, what you believe in or what you want to believe, but not what it is, or impulsivity. And impulsivity can drive you by emotion to believe that, no, Putin cannot lie. No, Putin is defending us. And Putin is a great guy. And it's surprising because all the other countries have made what they call economical
sanctions.
Measures on sanctions, but thinking that it will help to get rid of Putin from Russia. But when you see that 86% of the people believe what he says, not because they are bad people at all.
No, it's not. It's not.
Because they have been brainwashed.
Yep.
But brainwashed is also what you have in industry, where the negative people or the naysayers or the gossipers, gossip can kill projects.
Definitely.
It makes the people to be demotivated. So that's a very, very important element, the motivation to do and achieve. Achieving is very important. Absolutely.
Achieving is really important because, I mean, I always used to celebrate internally at the end of a day, when everyone's cleared off and I'm in my hotel room because I'm in some part of the world, not at home, and I would just sit back and I would literally just sit back on my bed and just think that was a good day, or actually, but tomorrow can be better. And I'm constantly going through my mind. In some respects, it's almost like putting a jigsaw puzzle together, and it's got 1,000 pieces, but you only know for sure where about 600 fit. And you've got to create the other 400 pieces with incomplete information and be agile enough and the ability to change. If you create a piece of that jigsaw and it doesn't quite look right, you've got to be able to take that piece out, trim it, and put it back in again. Because the likelihood is you were on the right track, but you need to say that isn't the best track.
Well, to make the puzzle, you need to believe it's possible to do it.
Exactly.
And it's all like that with a big picture, and they show you the picture, it was done. So if somebody can do it, at the moment you think, no, I cannot do it, you will not do it. It's a question if the puzzle is made for people to be able to play, to make, because the idea of a puzzle is not to make it incomplete. It's to complete and have a nice picture, and to start with a little piece and suddenly discover the big picture. Well, if you believe it's possible to do, you will be able to do. I think we have some question of Randy McElveen, which is, I think, taking an interesting comment. I just have to say this is one of the most inspiring things I have heard in my adult life.
Oh, thank you, Randy.
I thought I was uninspired in a follow the leader school setting because I thought there was something wrong with me. Who knew? Thank you for this. Well, it's a book. That's exactly the purpose.
And you've got a chapter of your own, Randy.
It's what you have not learned to school that now you can practice.
Exactly.
Yeah. And yes, you're right, Roger Marx. Your father said, if you can think you can or think you can't, you are right. Yeah, because if you think you can't, you won't.
Exactly. I love this. I love this saying. It's apparently Henry Ford, but I heard this saying, probably nearly 35 odd years ago, and it really captured my imagination because this is about. I'm not too sure that. Remember, Henry Ford said this in the 1920s and the 30s, where thinking hadn't really come to the fore, but believing was definitely there. I mean, he was a guy with self-belief, and I would like to believe that rather than the think as the word we would call it today, I would like to think it was believe. If you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right.
The problem when you speak belief in our society, it's not your belief. It's what you have been feeded with, which makes you that way. And you might believe fake news. And that's the problem. So you need to think for yourself. And I think you were saying something very interesting. At the end of the day, you say, I have done this, I have done that. Tomorrow we can do it better. And you are touching on a point. You are not making critiques of yourself. It's not about you. It's about how the process went. How the process went and how you can improve the process. It's not to judge you, because we are human, are in fact self-reprogrammable. If we think that positively, we can do better. And then that's the way it is. So before we close, I will indicate that we have at Mindful Choice Academy some tools. So for our viewer who are interested to see our tools, we have a Mindful Choice ebook. We have cards because our cards are icon, and the icon really explain very well situations there is in life on how to deal with it. And we have a course online. So that's something we have. I want to thank you for tonight, for participating and being engaged. And as always, my time with Neville is always, it went very quick, because it's always great. We should have done 2 hours, but it went very well. It was a great pleasure because we really work well together and we enjoy what we do. But next week, on April 13, Wednesday, April 13, same time, we will have an amazing guest, It's Rinda Montgomery. Rinda is a co-founder and chief academic officer of change management at Paradigm Learning Systems. They really help to change the way you learn and to make sure that the kids learn skills and not just theory. But she's also our vice president for academic affairs at the Mental Wellness Society and at the Mindful Choice Academy. And we will talk about bringing positive personal effectiveness into the classroom. So that will be also an interesting, engaging evening. Thank you so much. Neville, thank you for coming from London to me in Israel and us to everybody else in the world. But I hope it created a spark for people to see that it's not to think, it's not enough. To achieve and to do is why we are on earth. We are not on earth to contemplate and to think. We are on earth to make the world better. And the only way to make the world better is to contribute by doing something, one day at a time, one step at a time. Neville, you want to say the last word for our evening?
Well, the one step at a time, and those steps could be baby steps. And let's remember back to, your daughter's just turning 3, so you can remember when she was a baby. But look at that baby. They don't take huge jumps. They don't leap off the chair and say, oh, look at me, I can walk. It takes a bit of time, perseverance, resilience, practice, and you're going to hurt yourself. But don't worry about it, because you can get up and make it happen.
Focus on one thing at the time.
Absolutely.
Because human cannot decide more than one choice out of 2 options.
Yep.
And if you try to think about something else, does not work, you get confused. So what we can learn from kids is one thing at the time. At that time is that second, it's that minute. And after that, come another time, another minute.
Another time, another minute.
Yes,
exactly.
Okay. Thank you so much, Neville.
Great
being with you. Thank you. Take care.
Take care, everybody.